What's up guys, Pete Freezy back here with another video. Bit of a different video here. We're not in the bowling center. Today you guys are joining me in my apartment and we're going to go over who is Pete Freezy, what's in Pete Freezy's bag, and just get into it a little bit more and talk about me and kind of go for what we're going to go see on what this channel is going to have coming up. So hit that like button, subscribe, and let's get into it. Alright, so first, who is Pete Freezy? Pete Freezy is obviously me. Freezy is actually my nickname that I got back in high school when I bowled with my high school bowling team in Penn Yan, New York. So Pete Freezy was kind of a name created by a combination of one of my teammates and a man who is really the biggest reason I'm even here today, why I'm a bowler, and why I'm even talking to you guys right now, and that's my father. So we were bowling in a match one time, and it was a pretty big, important match. I was still kind of a youngster on the team. I was a sophomore actually, and we were facing one of our rival teams. I don't quite remember who now, but my dad was our assistant coach at the time. He volunteered to help coach us. I was on the team, my brother was on the team, and all of our close friends were kind of close to him, and so I was kind of amped up, a little nervous, and we got a couple shots in, and I was kind of struggling at first, and I came back off the approach from a shot, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, just be free and easy, just relax, you got nothing to worry about, be you, just be free, be easy, it's nothing too complicated about it, just be you." And my teammate Derek, who was one of my close friends, took that free and easy and meshed it, and so the next time I was up, he said, "Come on, Pete Freezy," and it just took off from there. I wound up having a really big match that night, I remember, and it just kind of took off and ran, and Pete Freezy was the nickname that was monitored to me. So that's into that. My real last name is Fox. I'm Pete Fox, again, Penn Yan, New York, little small town in central New York around the Finger Lakes region. I've been bowling since I was a little kid. I actually got a little bit of a late start into it. I didn't really get into it till about 5th or 6th grade, which compared to where probably a lot of you guys have started is actually really kind of late. I got into it a little later than probably most kids would. But my brother was a bowler, father was a bowler, mother was a bowler, so bowling has just always been a major part in my life. I'd like to say that I'm kind of successful. I'm obviously not a professional, but I'd like to say that I'm talented enough that I can bring some content to you guys and that I can hopefully pass some information off to you guys as well. Information that I know myself and that I've picked up over the years between all my coaches, my coach Mindy from when I was in high school, arguably one of the biggest helps in my game besides my father. My ball driller Pat from Sunset Bowl in Geneva, big part of my game. He drills all my equipment that you see here, puts me in the best spot to be successful as far as that. Always has time to let me practice when I need. Not as much anymore, but Doug Kent was a really big part of my game growing up. He passed a lot of information on to me. Doug lives in Newark, just about a 45-minute drive from here. He used to own my home center up here in Penn Yan, which is now owned by the Brockman crew, and they've done a great job getting that center together, and they've helped provided me with a lot of success between practicing and just getting comfortable as a bowler, as a person. So big thanks and shout outs to them. So hopefully we can see content from both centers here in the future, up at Brock's and up at Sunset. I consider really both of them my home centers. Brock's here in Penn Yan, that's 5-minute drive up the road. So that's always been my home center. Geneva out at Sunset, again, I get my equipment drilled there from Pat, and he always treats me like family, so I really consider both of them vital parts of me, vital parts of my game. So, the first video we dropped, I'll admit, a little sloppy. First video, I was a little stiff, a little nervous. I still am, really, if you can't tell. Not the best talker, not the best speecher. So hopefully as we keep going and keep the content flowing, you'll get a little bit cleaner, a little bit less sloppy, and I can help put out some good content and knowledge for everybody out there. I kind of messed up too. I messed up by turning off the comments on that first video, so I'll make sure that in the future here, I'll make sure the comments are on so you guys can interact with me and let me know what you guys want to see, what you guys want to see me do, see me talk about. So why am I doing this? I'm doing this because, again, obviously, I love bowling. It's a huge part of my life, and I always find myself on YouTube and everything. I'm always watching. There's a lot of kind of up-and-coming YouTube bowlers out there. Darren Tang, his channel is huge right now. A big one who I gotta give a big thanks to, Big Louis Napolis. He's actually given me some input and some knowledge to help me start this channel. So, and his channel is really starting to grow. I love his content. I love his reviews. So he's really kind of becoming big out there. Packy with the House Bowling channel, that channel is growing and huge. Brad and Kyle, obviously those guys are way steps further above me, but they're big influencers for me, and like I said, I've been seeing enough of them doing it, and it's inspiring me to want to get my knowledge out there and help out whoever I can help with the bowling community, and help the community grow, help get more people into bowling, more knowledgeable about bowling, and so on and so forth. What else? And really, bowling has just been such a big part of me lately. I didn't quite mention it, but I lost my father a few years ago. A lot of you who might know me who are watching this know that, but so I lost him, and for a while I actually kind of lost myself for a little bit. But at times when I felt kind of dark and I felt like I needed the pick-me-up, these guys, these bowling balls, and bowling in general is one of the few things that lifts me back up and makes me feel like I have a purpose for something. It's something that I can grow with, that I can be really, not just be really good at, but just really enjoy now too. So yeah, so now incorporating the channel in with it, that kind of just helps drive and encourage me to keep doing it even more. So now I can keep learning about bowling for myself and giving the information back out to whoever I can help with it. So yeah, that's kind of just a little bit about me. Now let's get back into the bag a little bit here. The first video, you guys saw me review these gems right here. No pun intended. But you guys saw me go over my review for the new RST X3, and I compared it to the X1, the X2, and the gem. Now, for a lot of you who watched it, you watched it, but I didn't quite really go into detail about what we saw out there. So we're gonna kind of do that a little bit here now too, and then we'll get into the rest of my bag as well. The transitional pieces that I have, again, benchmark pieces, and the urethane pieces as well that I include in my game that give me a lot of success and that I really like and enjoy. So, in review, I kind of talked about it as I was throwing them, but obviously the gem, that was our strongest piece. That was our earliest piece. It read the lane super early. It got down lane, rolled really nice and easy off the pattern. Now, if I'm saying that that's the strongest piece, why is it a piece that is round and smooth when it comes off the pattern? A lot of people kind of misunderstand in terms of how weak or aggressive bowling balls are nowadays. When we talk about strength in a bowling ball, we talk about now how early it hooks and how early it rolls. So the stronger a bowling ball is, it's going to read the lane sooner, and because it's stronger and it's reading sooner, it's using up all of its energy in the front part of the lane, and it's going to come off the end of the pattern and be really smooth and really round. So that's where we got the gem stacking up, strongest piece in the bag. So what kind of came as a shock to me when I first drilled them and then threw them was that I originally thought that the X3 kind of might have been basically almost the same shape and motion that I would see in my X1, and that wound up really not being the case at all. Both hybrid covers, so that's kind of where I kind of thought it would happen, but they're hybrid covers, but they're two totally different base formula cover stocks. We've got E-Trax hybrid in the RST-X1, and we got Micro-Trax hybrid in the RST-X3. Micro-Trax is also the same base cover that we have in the Gem, just in a solid cover stock. So where we got the hybrid, that's pieces of solid and pearl cover stock. Now, even though it's a hybrid just like the X1, because of that different base formula and the Micro-Trax cover, I saw the X3 being significantly earlier and a little, not quite stronger, but just, again, earlier and a little bit smoother and more forward than what I saw in the X1. At the end of the day though, the X3 did still create a really nice shape. The X3 does still shape too, but it's a totally different shape motion that I saw, and I hope you guys saw it too, because it's kind of going to be hard for me now to kind of see where they might fit in my bag, because although I saw the X3 being earlier and more forward, they still almost kind of fill the same spot. So it'll be interesting to see as time goes on and what more I bowl on, where these two guys will compare against each other. The X1, as I talked about, for me, that's my favorite ball of all time right now. I shot multiple 300s this past season with it. I shot my new high set 823 with it. I had a bunch of other really high games, 299, I had a 297, a 290, all with the X1. That helped me average really high for the most part. I averaged, well, not really high, I averaged 222 the season before, mostly throwing it. I averaged just shy of 220 this past season, only because I had one bad blunder week that killed my average, but that's beside the point. And then for the fourth piece in the bag, or fourth piece in terms of strength, we had the RST-X2. That was pretty blatantly obvious. That's a pearlized cover. It's the only pearl cover of the three, or of the four. And still, in terms of strength, was just about as strong as all three, but just that pearl cover gave us a totally different motion, a lot longer, a lot cleaner. But again, because of the aggressive cover stock, the asymmetric core, which has a strong core in it, it was a really strong core, still picks up an early motion, but that pearl cover just made it a lot cleaner compared to the rest of these guys. And the one guy that you guys didn't see, but I still have up here anyway with my strongest balls in the bag. The Gray Goat, as I like to call it. You guys all know what it is, the Rubicon UC3. Now, why is it up here with these reactive balls? It's urethane, we know that. Definitely not like any other urethane ball any of us have ever really thrown. We still get that early front part of the lane motion that urethane gives you, but between that asymmetric Rubicon core, or Rondour core as it's called, and actually having that pearl urethane cover stock, just gives you so much more motion down lane, unlike any other urethane ball out there on the market. That ball was really big for me on the Fresh at the Open Championships between both team event and doubles. When I first started on doubles, just that higher volume oil really allowed me to play the outside part of the lane early on, and being that kind of formula based urethane with that asymmetric core, I was able to kind of break the lane down in a proper way to where I could push down just a little bit enough oil down lane to where I had hold to when I needed to move right, or left I mean. So really good ball for the Fresh when you need that urethane look, but still need that extra pop down lane. I don't like urethane whatsoever really, but this guy totally covers that gap for me now when I need that urethane motion, especially when I'm bowling on the Fresh and on a heavier volume pattern, when I need to play further right where I would typically need urethane. So that breaks down the, I would call it top end of the bag for me. The balls, again, I would probably throw on Fresh, the stronger balls in my bag. And yeah, now we'll get back into the rest of the bag and go over the, and boom, transition for the transitional pieces. Little Duke cameo here. Come here, buddy. Come on, say hi to the camera. Duke, my little devil dog, saying hi. Say hi, buddy. All right, come on, buddy, look out. All right, so into the transitional pieces. I still got my UC2 up here because, like I said, that's typically the first ball I go to when I make my transition move, my first transition move. That's also easily the strongest of the transitional pieces up here. Next one is kind of a ball which surprises me that doesn't get as much love, at least for what I have for it, the Phase 3. I absolutely love this ball. I've seen that a lot of people aren't fans of it because it's a little too over-under. It either shapes too much down lane or because of shapes too much down lane, or it just doesn't quite have the juice to get around the corner for some people. But I have been a fan of this ball ever since I drilled it. It's kind of funny. The first time I ever drilled it, I took it to a league night one night. I threw it. I threw the front six the first game with it, and then I go up for my 7th frame. I go to put my thumb in the ball, and poof, my grip is gone. So I had to completely change grips. I still somehow managed to pop off a 670 for the night, but ever since then, it took me a long time to throw this ball again. And then we got into that year of what I call the COVID year, when we first came back from the lockdown. The Phase 3 was really, really, really good to me that season. I had pretty successful seasons across 2 different houses, and I threw this ball for a lot of it. Even on Fresh too. I knocked it down a little bit, as you can kind of tell. It's not quite as shiny as it would be out of the box when it first came out, but I knocked it down to like a 2,000, 3,000 grit, and that allowed me to see it a little earlier, which made it look a little bit better for even on Fresh conditions, because I threw this ball a lot on Fresh too, because I could see that ball pick up in the mid lane. I could see it pick up a little bit off the end of the pattern, and then it's still shaped and still continued through the pins really well. So that's easily my second favorite transition ball. And then this guy right here. I've got mixed feelings for this one here. I know everybody says it, we all know the term, Zen ball good. It took me a long time to be able to start saying that, because when I first drilled this guy, I did not like it at all. It's that first initial finish being so shiny, I think that was a big part of it. So I also drilled it a little different. I still got that pin above the bridge layout, but I stacked it really tall and really high compared to the rest of my stuff, which I think is part of it too. It just made it stand up a little too quickly for me. And by stand up, I mean read a little earlier, which just for the dynamics of the ball, it just didn't shape well for me for a while. But then, again, as you can tell, I knocked down its surface. I actually knocked this one down to 1,000, and I typically keep it there until it lean shines a bit. And I finally see a good look out of it. But this ball has been very specific for me. It's kind of funny because I need oil because it's still a little bit of an earlier reading ball, even for a symmetric pearl. But so because of that, I still need a little bit of oil, but I also need there to be some friction and some transition too. Because without that friction, just the dynamics of the ball make it go too long, and then it just never wants to get through the pins. Half the time when I throw this ball and it gets to the pins, it just pukes on me. But like I said, if I have situations where there's a lot of friction, it looks really good and it goes through the pins really well. This ball was actually a savior for me at the Open Championships. I threw this ball the back 2 games of doubles and singles, and I managed to squeak out a pretty good 195 the 5th game. A 195 which included like 7 strikes and 5 opens, but we'll get past that. And then the very last game, I threw 234, 232, something like that with that ball. Got me to a 617 for singles, which I believe helped me cash actually. I was 1 pin to the good last I checked, so that ball actually, as far as I know, helped me cash. Not a lot, but anything's better than nothing in my opinion. So a bit of a hit or miss ball for me. I've really grown to like it more lately, but like I said, very situational, very pattern and situation specific for me. This ball right here, aside from these two, is the oldest one up here. Kind of what I would figure for you guys would be a bit of a surprising ball that would be up here, the High Road X. I got this ball drilled up back in 2018, and it is still a staple in my bag. Now, of the balls I got up here, 2 of these guys I consider my benchmark bowling ball, and that would be the High Road X, and of course, obviously, IQ Solid. Why do I consider that guy a benchmark bowling ball though for me? I consider a benchmark ball, and we're actually going to get into this a little bit in a up and coming video that I filmed today that includes my benchmark bowling balls, and obviously you're going to see these 2, and then another one that you've already seen me talk about, the RSTX1. Now, why do I consider those guys benchmark bowling balls? Because they are the bowling balls for me and for my game that I understand the most. And by understand the most, it means I have the utmost faith in them. I know exactly what they're going to do during any given situation. And they're typically the first balls out of my bag when I need to read a specific pattern, whether it's a tournament. If I don't know what pattern I'm bowling on, one of those 3 bowling balls are going to be the first ones out of my bag. So since I'm saying that, why do I got it with my transitional guys? Even though these 2 guys are typically the first ones out of my bag, I use them to read the pattern, but I also know that they're typically going to be better for me during a little bit of a transition period. This guy I wouldn't use really late in a transition period because I keep it hit at a pretty hard surface. Like I got this one sanded down to a 1000 finish. And I got it sanded down, so again, like a lot of the other guys, I can see the ball read early, and then I can see it being nice and round off the back of the pattern, so it's nice and controllable. That's the big thing that we talk about with a benchmark ball is control. A benchmark bowling ball is typically going to be very controllable and keeps you out of trouble when you know things are going to be really tough and really a challenge to score on. But again, like I said, it's still a weaker ball in terms of strength, so that's why I got that one up here in the transition group. And again, same with the IQ Solid, a little bit weaker for me than the High Road X. Again, I also got it kind of like the UC2. I got that guy with a pin down below the bridge layout. I've had 4 IQ Solids, I think, and I've drilled them all the exact same way because I love the motion it creates. Helps the ball be really smooth, really round off the back of the pattern, and just helps for me in my game give it the most energy and the most continuation throughout the pins while still being, again, rounded and controllable. And then our last guy up here, the OG, the GOAT bowling ball, in my opinion. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean for me, I just mean in general. The original OG High Road. I've had, I think, 7 High Roads, 6 or 7 that I've drilled. The High Road was actually, not this one specifically, I still have it though. The High Road for me was the first ever Storm bowling ball that I drilled. I loved it, and ever since then, I guess 6 or 7 might be much. I think I've had at least 5 High Roads throughout my time. This one is actually an older High Road. I just got it recently though. It's a 2010 core, so it's from kind of back in the day, from when those High Roads were kind of a big deal out there on the lanes. Sorry, drink time. But I don't throw that one a lot anymore because this one, I think because of being a little older and it's also been drilled twice already now, it's kind of been a dud for me lately. It looked really good when I first got it, but it just doesn't quite have the pop down lane that it used to. So those are the transitional pieces. Now, one more time, we will, and boom. And there are our urethane pieces. Again, like I said, not a big urethane fan, except for the UC3. Really the only urethane ball that's ever really given me any kind of confidence or any kind of success, really. I've thrown it a lot on even house shots because of that. The combination of the asymmetric core along with that pearl cover stock that it has, that pearl urethane cover stock, just gives me a totally game-changing motion. But when I still need to see that urethane shape, that's the ball I go to. That's really the only one that I trust. Anyone I typically ever really even throw or carry with me. And again, like I said, a lot of people kind of misunderstand urethane. Urethane is really a lot stronger than what people say it is. Again, because of how strong it is, it reads a lot earlier, and it's going to shape less down lane. So in terms of how you really think about it, urethane is really strong, not really weak. And now the other 2 urethane pieces. Of course, obviously, pitch black. It's a pitch black. I can't really say too much about it, other than I'm just not the hugest fan of it, but I still do have it because there are the few situations where I can find success with it, but I don't see enough of the right pattern conditions, or I just don't fit very well with it for my hand, my speed, but I still have it. I typically only carry it with me though when I know what I'm bowling on and when I know it might have a chance to look good. But even then, I got the UC3 to kind of fill that spot for me. And then, technically not really a urethane ball. I can't remember the actual name of the cover on the Pitch Purple, but it's that urethane-like motion. But I drilled that one thinking that was going to be my predecessor or my successor to the Pitch Black, because I had seen the reviews and everything that the Pitch Purple had, and I've seen it too. It definitely shapes a little bit more than the Pitch Black. Still gives you that early reading motion that urethane has, but definitely gets around the corner a lot harder. I kind of messed up though, and I might actually try to re-drill it. I'm thinking about plugging this one soon and seeing if I can get better results with it. I drilled it pin down, pin under my middle finger, which just kind of makes the ball too round off the back, too clean, I shouldn't say clean, controllable, and it doesn't really give me the right motion that I was expecting to see with it. So I might plug it, I might not yet. I haven't quite decided. It's kind of hard for me to want to do anything else really with both of these guys when, like I said, I got the gray goat here. I don't really have much of a need for it, but like I said, I got them in case I need them. But so yeah, those are the urethane pieces. Oh yeah, I got one more though. We can't forget the most important ball in every bowler's arsenal: the spare ball. I very recently actually just went back to plastic. I went through a bit of a rough stretch where plastic was not good for me, so I got in the habit of using really just whatever ball I had, or I used urethane. I used urethane for my spares. But this past season, especially towards the end, I really started to struggle with my spare shooting. And like I said, I had the USBC Open Championships coming up, and I knew I needed to hone back in my spare shooting skills. So we got plastic back, and I've actually seen a significant difference with my spare shooting now because of it. So I'm kind of really glad that I did that. So there you go. That's the arsenal. Other than there are some hidden gems, which I'm gonna save them for you guys for when I do some blast from the past bowling ball battles here coming up. I've got some gems that I'm gonna try to stack up with the guys that you just saw, and we're gonna compare old tech versus new tech and see if the older tech can still stack up to today's new bowling technology. So I hope you guys are excited for that, and yeah, stay tuned for that. We're gonna have a lot of that coming up. I actually just filmed one. A little hint: we compared it with the RST X2. So yeah, stay tuned for that. And again, like I said, I kind of messed up with my first video where I turned off the comments. So for this one and for future videos, I'm going to make sure that you guys can comment and let me know what you guys are excited about seeing and what you guys want to see next. So with that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, like I said, like, subscribe, and let me know what you guys are excited about seeing. Peace.